Hey guys, it's Keshav. So we're actually in New York City today, and I wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to redo one of the earlier videos I did on desire because I wasn't too happy with the quality of it. But nevertheless, once in a while, you might find yourself in a position where you really want something from somebody else, and you're very expressive about that. And I'm talking about any kind of emotional gratification. Of course, romantic attraction, but also things like acceptance. Maybe you want the cool kids, in quotes, to think you're cool, or you want to be the funny kid in class, or maybe even you want your boss to think highly of you so they give you promotions and pay raises. And so you express that by basically pandering to these people. You start kissing ass, you start being too responsive with text messages, not being able to leave people alone. And all these behaviors are doing you a lot more harm than good, even though it might not seem like it, because that's the instinct that we all jump to. Most of us seem to think that if we pander to people and beg and plead for them to give us what we want, then that's how we get it. But it's totally the wrong approach. So let's go ahead and talk about why and what you should be doing instead. So let's just go over a few of the many ways that this is detrimental to you. So for one, you are significantly devaluing yourself. And why is this important? Because nobody wants to give anything away that is of value for free. They don't want to do that without knowing they're going to get something back in return that is of equal or greater value. And by pandering to somebody, that's essentially what you're doing, is you're just begging and pleading for them to give you what you want without providing any real value in return for that. But perhaps most importantly, you're already giving away your greatest assets, that which is of the greatest value that you have to offer. Your attention, your affection, your desire, all these things are things that you need to make people work for. And if you give it away for free and you just do it the instant that you set your eyes upon somebody, then it has no value, it has no meaning. And sometimes people might look at that and say, okay, I can have my way with you. I've got everything I need from you. And so I don't really have any incentive to provide anything in return for that. Also, when you think about it, it's a huge amount of pressure to be putting on people. To be constantly lurking around the corner every single day, just waiting for them so that you can beg and plead for them to give you what you want and just never be able to leave them alone. It's like you're building up this mountain of hope that's just gonna come crumbling down in the event that they decide not to give you what you want. And the reason why that creates so much pressure is because nobody wants to deal with the aftermath. They don't know how you're gonna react if you don't get what you want. Are you gonna have some kind of an emotional meltdown or a breakdown, or start texting them really aggressively, being like, you're a terrible person, how could you do this to me? Or are you gonna act really awkward and upset around them in person? All right, so nobody wants to deal with that kind of drama or that kind of awkward aftermath. And so the easiest way out, the path of least resistance, is to just turn you down right off the bat. And lastly, amongst many others, he who desires is he who relies on others. And he who relies on others is someone that can't rely on himself, right? You're not being self-reliant. And that's a very uncomfortable kind of person to be around, because essentially you're expecting other people to put themselves in a leadership position. You're saying that you want to be the follower and that you want to be able to rely on them. And that's almost the same thing as saying that you expect somebody to basically be your mom or your babysitter, right? It's just a very uncomfortable position to be in, especially when you're the one that's expected to be the leader. Most people are comfortable being followers. And so if you can't step up and be the leader, be the one that other people are pandering to instead of being the one that's doing the pandering, then you're just turning people off. Now, there are a number of things you can do to ensure that you're not being that guy that I just described. And I'm gonna go over 3 of those things. And they are, at a glance, exclusivity, self-reliance, and acceptance. So let's go over each one of those. What is exclusivity? That's where you are essentially doing the opposite of one of the earlier points I made when I said that pandering to people is you giving away your greatest assets for free without making people work for them. And so you have to make people work for it. So the second you see somebody that you might have some level of interest in, you don't just go up to them and say, hey, I really like you, will you please approve of me? Instead, you keep your distance. There are a number of other things you can do. Give it some time. Don't be so quick to text people back when they ask you to hang out. Don't be like, yeah, I'm free all day, every day. You can instead say something like, I might be free on this day, but I'll let you know, and have other stuff going on in your life. And so when it takes effort to get through to you, to earn your acceptance and your approval before you give your assets away for free, essentially, then you've actually significantly added value to yourself instead of devaluing yourself. Now, self-reliance is something that you are expected to have. As a grown man or woman over the age of even as early as 18, you should be able to take care of yourself. So that means whenever you're going through something tough, don't feel like you always need to crawl back to your parents' house or call your friends for emotional support. Deal with those things yourself, because that's how you at least start yourself off on the right track to developing a mindset that's more of, hey, there's nothing that other people can do for me that I can't do for myself, instead of the approval-seeking mentality, which is I can't rely on myself. I need other people to fill that void for me, which is completely untrue. And if that's hard for you to swallow, just think of it this way. Why should anybody have to take care of you? What obligation is there for them to give you what you want? If you're not out there constantly worrying about other people, then you can bet that they're not doing the same thing. They have other stuff to worry about, and they have every right in the world to tell you that you need to be able to take care of yourself. And acceptance is where you do the opposite of what I described earlier. When somebody topples that mountain of hope that you've got built up for yourself, which you shouldn't really be building up in the first place. If you've done it right, you haven't put any pressure on them. But invariably, sometimes when you still take the initiative and you have to say, hey, let's make plans together, and somebody turns you down, you can't throw a fit, you can't send them angry text messages, don't act really angry and upset and depressed around them in person. Instead, accept it. Be cool with it. Be like, hey, that's totally okay. I have other stuff to do anyway, and if you need me, you know where to find me, and see you later. And not only does that make you seem a lot less needy and desperate, but that also paves the way for the possibility that they might want to make plans with you in the future, because you've just proven how you behave in a situation where you don't get what you want. So, moral of the story is, don't want, be wanted. Don't think that by kissing people's asses and paying too much attention to them and always just lurking around the corner demanding stuff from them is going to get you what you want. Because even if it does, then it's only going to be a short term, I'm going to give it to you to get you off my back, which turns into a long term, all right, dude, just get the hell away from me, right? So practice exclusivity, self-reliance, and acceptance at a minimum, and you'll be surprised at how the tables turn. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I'll see you next time.